Welcome to No Broken Legs. I am your host, Evan Belfiore. It is a frigid Friday night here in Lakewood, and joining me from the very cold Ravenna is Jimmy Champ. Jimmy, how are you tonight besides cold?
It's just cold. No, things are going good over here at the Champ household. Everybody's wrapping presents, taking a little break from that to talk football with you, my friend. And I just want to say for everybody that's been listening the last couple of weeks, I've been in the process of moving, and I have not had my my good headset or my portable mic. So hopefully my audio quality on my end will be a little better this week for everybody. So thanks for sticking with us, and we're gonna get you here to some winners as we wind down the regular season.
Yeah, a lot of games tomorrow, even though there's a lot of games on Sunday, as the NFL is taking advantage of the schedule to stick it to the NBA a little bit.
Yep.
It's those numbers are going to look bad for the NBA. They're going to be freaking out. Once again, playing on Saturday are the Cleveland Browns. They are hosting the New Orleans Saints. They are 3-point favorites. The over-under sits at 32, minus 155 for the Browns money line, plus 135 for New Orleans. I want to say the Browns got away with one last week against Baltimore, Jimmy, but they didn't. They did what Baltimore normally does to Cleveland. They didn't make any mistakes. They played good, tough football, and they won a divisional game. It was kind of surprising, to be honest.
Yeah, I listened to a little bit of I listened to actually a little bit of Baltimore talk radio, sports talk radio at the start of the week, because I was so confused why Baltimore didn't run the ball more when they were running it like seven. They're running it like 7 yards a clip and kept wanting to throw the football, which I'm glad they did. I think the Ravens game, I think it came down to something you talked to last week, where one of the few games all year, nothing happened to really get the Browns off script. Now there were punts and everything, but there were no crazy turnovers, no crazy plays. The offensively and defensively, they were able to just kind of stay on script. Who knows what happens if that's not the quarterback you face, but hey, everybody deals with injuries. It is what it is. So it was a hard-fought division win. Playoffs are still a very slim possibility, but they're still a possibility. You're not technically out of it yet. But it was good to see them get a division win. But, I think you really nailed it where you talked about as long as they can stay on script and things don't go bad, they can win. Normally, things go off script for the Browns, but it was the Ravens with Justin Tucker missing field goals and some other weird stuff happening, and kudos to the Browns on picking up a big win last week.
Coming into the game this week, I would expect the game plan to be very similar. Run the ball, a lot of really short, quick passes, which we talked about last week. Watson looked better when he was throwing with, not going through his progressions, but just, all right, this plays for this guy, you're going to drop 3 steps and throw it. And he seems to be able to make those timing routes. I don't imagine that they're going to be able to throw much downfield with the way the wind is whipping right now. It's pretty fierce, and it was pretty bad last week, and it's going to be even worse this week. I expect a heavy dose of Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt. I don't know, man. Do they maybe activate Ford and give him some carries? I don't. I still don't know why they spent a 4th-round pick on him and then just run Hunt 5 plays a game. Why not give Dearness Johnson those 5 carries that you're giving Hunt, and then try out Ford and give Felton the passing? I don't know. I don't know why this team has so many running backs and didn't trade any of them. That's sort of old news, but yeah, I expect them to feature the running backs a lot this weekend.
Yeah, I think you need more active running backs than wide receivers this week.
It's disappointing because we're not going to get a chance to really judge what Watson is doing as he plays in more games. Because, it's just the weather is too bad to get a real feel for what's going on. Is he actually developing, or is this all he's capable of? And we just don't have a definitive answer on that until probably next season.
Yeah, no, I agree. There's there are plenty of Browns fans, that want this team to win all these games down the stretch, maybe take a run at the playoffs. Maybe they're built to be a playoff team. I don't know about that. And then there are a lot of a lot of Browns fans, a lot of people in the Browns media even are like, man, I hope they don't win these 4 games and we get the Eric Mangini syndrome again, where where we keep a coaching staff we should probably get rid of. But I think it's the way the organization is talking now. I think next year you're gonna start next year with Kevin Stefanski, Joe Woods, and Mike Prefer on staff. I'm taking the Browns in this game. You have to take the under. Like, bet the under. Take the Browns. Like, this should be a game where, in this kind of weather, New Orleans, the way they scheme offense, you're going to have trouble scheming that offense. And this should just be the team with the more talented players wins the game. It scares me when I say that because that wasn't the case against Atlanta. That wasn't the case against the Jets. But hopefully this team's a little different now. A little bit of confidence on defense. Clowney being out, I don't think it really makes a difference in a game like this. So he's not a big run stopper anyway. Yeah. So I don't think Clowney being out makes a difference. So, but I like the Browns in this spot, and getting this win it's a big deal for everybody within the organization.
I agree with your assessment of this game all around. I like the under. I like the Browns to cover. I think they need to win these last games for the same reasons that I thought they needed to get the 9 wins last year. You really need to reset the clock on, the Browns have only had one winning season in 12 years.
Yeah.
13 years. What they was that 07, the Derek Anderson fluke year. So from 08
I think it was 07
to this year currently, which is still in progress, you've had one winning season. And you need to this stuff matters. You cannot be a team that wins consistently until you show that you can win consistently. And you can't drop one of these games. You just can't. They should win all of these. New Orleans at home in this weather, New Orleans should be shit in this game. Cleveland really should be able to shut them down. It's Andy Dalton or whoever they're going to be starting at quarterback, like it matters, because that team's just not very good.
Yeah.
And then you have Washington, and I know Washington's pretty tough, but if you fancy yourself a contender in the AFC, you got to be able to beat Washington. And then you have Pittsburgh. Yep. So go sweep Pittsburgh. I mean, that sweeping Pittsburgh to go 9-8 would, I think, be a huge step forward for this organization. I know a lot of people are concerned because that means they're going to keep Joe Woods, but I think you have to start getting to the point that you don't have a bunch of coordinators and coaches that you're paying to not coach.
And I think I stated matter of factly last week. I think to me the one game where Joe Woods should have been let go after was the Atlanta game, because the Atlanta Falcons ran like 37 run plays in a row and you never did anything to stop it. But I do think
Jimmy,
Joe
maybe
Woods,
he couldn't do anything to stop it because his superstar, highest paid defensive end was out of the game because he was driving like an immature fucking asshole and flipped his car and nearly killed himself and somebody else.
Whoa, we're not allowed to talk about Miles like that, bud.
I know. Dude, it is infuriating when I hear people talk about his shoulder. Like, oh man, he's gutting through that shoulder injury. Like, what do you mean? He was horrifically reckless and injured himself and missed a game that right now, if they had won that game, they're probably looking down the barrel of the playoffs.
Yep. No, I completely agree with you.
But this fan base is never going to hold him accountable for anything because he's Myles Garrett, apparently. Being the highest paid player and being good means you don't get held accountable. That seems to be where the Browns fans and organization are.
I agree, but I think there are just times where it just feels like Joe Woods takes too much of the blame for what we're told are highly talented players not playing highly talented football.
Johnson.
Yeah, exactly.
Just kind of came out of me there. He's been not good.
No.
And I know Delpit has gotten fooled a bunch, and he hasn't been very good either, but Johnson's supposed to be the guy that coordinates that secondary, and he just hasn't really done the job and hasn't really helped Delpit grow.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Plus Ward, I think Ward's had sort of a down year. I don't think he's bad. I think he's good, but I think he's overpaid for his position, and I think his reputation's bigger than his play.
Yeah, I agree. And he does splash sometimes, but he should splash all the time.
Yeah, he should be a guy that at least every other game is making a statement on the field, and he maybe does that 3 times a year.
Thrown out a lot for a guy that's supposed to be a top 5, top 10 corner in the league.
Yeah, it gives up a lot of stuff to number 2 receivers.
Yeah,
not a fan of that.
Yeah, but yeah, none of that should matter this week.
No.
None of it should matter this week, and I think actually the Washington game and the Pittsburgh game are going to be so telling for this team. Because, and I'm sure for the rest of the year, the Franco Harris stuff, it's going to mean something to the Pittsburgh Steelers organization. Like, I believe that.
Oh, yeah.
I believe Mike Tomlin is a great motivator. He will use that as a motivational tool. I can see, if the Steelers get up for nothing other than we're not going to let the Cleveland Browns have a winning season because they beat us twice, I believe that. And Ron Rivera is still looking for the playoffs as well. I'm curious if Kevin Stefanski, an analytics guy, and I have no problems with the analytics guys, but sometimes you've got to be more than that or have somebody else on your staff that is a football guy. Because those 2 games, no matter what happens in the Saints game, those 2 games are going to be heavyweight knockout fights with an opponent who's like high on cocaine. Like those 2 teams are going to be ready to kill you to win the football game. And
Man.
I don't know if the Cleveland Browns will be able to match that intensity. I'm super excited to look forward to it because they should be on a 2-game winning streak because there's no reason to lose this game to the Saints. It's so terrifying to say that anytime about the Cleveland Browns, but it's the truth. They should win this game fairly easily. They should be able to win this game like 17-0, no problems. But you're gonna have to bring everything you got those last 2 weeks and really show what you're made of. And I'm super curious as to see what it looks like at the end of the year.
That would really bring a lot of intrigue into that Pittsburgh-Cleveland game to end the season if they're both 8-8. Mike Tomlin's streak of non-losing or no losing seasons up against the Browns streak of pretty much all losing seasons.
Yep.
Especially going into the next year with bragging rights, you're the 2 teams at the just the loser of that game is going to be last in the division.
Yep.
Yeah. One more Browns note: Jack Conklin, 4-year, $60 million extension. Did you see that?
Yeah, sure. We should definitely do that.
$31 million guaranteed. I mean, I guess if he regains his form, that's a great signing. But he's been mostly meh the last 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think
he's north of 30, 4-year deal. It's basically a 2-year, $30 million.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. It's basically 2 years, 30 mil. And I think you're going to actually see, unfortunately, I think over the next 2 years, you're going to see a lot of guys who are playing Met get contracts like this just so it's a position Andrew Berry doesn't have to try to fill with the limited cap space and limited draft picks he has.
Can he play left tackle?
I don't think he's ever played outside. I think he's always played inside.
No, Conklin's a right tackle.
Oh no, he's always played on the right side. I don't think he's played on the left side. I don't believe.
Okay, that's just I don't know. That was just something I was thinking about because there's such a question mark with Wills over there. Is this maybe something like that, and then you try to use Hudson there, or maybe they move Hudson over, or maybe they go with somebody else. I don't know. There's going to be a lot of changes on that line. They do have the center back. I don't think he's going to play though. Yeah, but also that's another big contract for a guy. That's 2 more years of guaranteed money.
Yeah.
It's taken away from where they can spend in other places. And they still have a lot of holes on that defense that are going to have to be filled, particularly on the defensive line and at strong safety, or free safety, I mean. Well, we do have one game in the books. The Jacksonville Jaguars beat the New York Jets, and Trevor Lawrence is kind of coming into his own late in the season. They're making a push for the division. They just hit their over on wins. I think were you on it with me with that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and they're making a run at Tennessee. We'll get to their game later, who just seems to be falling apart. Or the Jets are toast, right? That's pretty much a wrap for them.
Yeah, I think the magic they had earlier in the season is definitely gone.
Mike White probably, or not Mike White. Jeez, it's twice I've done that now on the pod. Zach Wilson, I don't know what they're going to do with him. Is he even back with the team next year?
I doubt it.
I can't imagine anybody's going to go after him. Even if he gets cut.
Somebody will put him on a roster somewhere.
Bad quarterbacks, man.
Yeah, they always have a job. But yeah, no, I think the Jets. Now, I do personally like. I mean, we talked about it. We talked about it extensively when we did our AFC East preview at the start of the year. We said, if Zach Wilson ends up being real, the Jets are a playoff team. If not, with the young talent on the roster, they may just be a quarterback away from being really good. So maybe they bring
Geno. Where they are.
Maybe they bring Geno Smith back. I don't know, but I think they're a quarterback. I think they're a quarterback away from being a very competitive team in the NFL and the AFC. I really believe that. I think the AFC East is going to be a really strong division, even with New England falling off the face of the planet.
A lot of people have connected Jimmy Garoppolo to the Jets.
Yeah, that's probably a great spot for him.
Of course, Trey Lance might be available too. Who knows?
Woo!
How crazy would that be? That'd be insane.
I don't know. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, we can talk about that later.
Yeah.
Next up, we have the Baltimore Ravens. They're home hosting the Atlanta Falcons. This was a 7.5-point spread on Wednesday. It is now a 6.5-point spread in favor of Baltimore. Over-under sits at 34.5. Money line minus 275 Ravens, plus 240 for the Falcons. No Lamar Jackson still. Huntley will be getting the start here. Baltimore's offense looked pretty broken last week, even though they were in the bad weather. Atlanta's offense just looks broken. Ritter looked terrible. Do you have any expectations of him getting better? Do you foresee that happening?
Probably not with the head coach and the coaching staff he has now. But I don't want to bury the guy after one start like that. I mean, maybe there's a chance to grow there, maybe not, but I don't think there's anything wrong with Atlanta trying to figure out what they have. But
no, it doesn't look good. That's their problem.
Yeah. Oh no. I agree with that. But I'm all over the Ravens here. I think you'll see way more running of the football this week from the Baltimore Ravens.
I think Atlanta keeps it close. I'll take Atlanta with the points. I just don't trust this Baltimore team to put up points and beat anybody soundly. I just don't. Where they haven't shown that all year. Which is odd because our next matchup features the Detroit Lions, who I've been wrong about all year too. And I still don't trust them. And they're 2.5-point favorites on the road against the Panthers. Over-unders at 43.5, minus 145 for the Lions, plus 125 for the Panthers. I mean, I don't know what the difference between these two teams is, to be honest, Jimmy.
Wow.
I mean, Carolina's got a good defense. The Lions have a good offense. And then the other sides of the ball are just roll the dice, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want anything to do with this game because like you, I mean, I still think Detroit is absolutely phony. I'm hoping they make the playoffs so I can bet on them to lose.
Yeah, here.
Like I really feel that way. I just think at some point the talent's going to matter, and at some point the real Jared Goff is going to stand back up. But I guess I'll go ahead and take Detroit for the course of the pod, but I don't want anything to do with this game.
Yeah, I'll take the points because I'm in doubt, but I don't like that pick. I guess if you love Detroit, you can put money on it, but I don't trust them, so I'm not.
I mean, I guess you do have to say, I mean, now, the thing that's crazy about this game, like, this might be a spot where you start seeing, like, whatever Carolina has in the kitchen sink to throw, this might be a spot where you do it because while Detroit is battling for a wild card, I mean Carolina's only a game out of their division.
I
So I
know.
mean you
NFC
may
South's
see
so bad.
so Carolina might really come out and play with their heads on fire. We'll see what happens. So yeah, I'm all over Chicago here. I'm tempted on the money line, but I'll probably pass on the money line. But I love Chicago to cover here. I'm guessing weather in Chicago isn't great either. And as much as everybody loves this Bills team, their offense and their defense, neither one have looked like gangbusters recently. So Justin Fields looks like he's really coming in his own despite everything that's going on with the organization.
Hmm.
So I think Buffalo will probably sneak out a win, but I'm not taking Buffalo to beat them by a touchdown plus.
I think the 8.5 is too much. I think
Yeah.
Buffalo's a better team, but I think they're really beat up on defense. And we'll see, man. It's cold. Josh Allen's going to take a couple of hits, and I think they have to be careful with him this time of year. I think they
Yep.
eke out a win. I like them in a 7-point tease with Kansas City and San Francisco and the money line parlay. But at
Yeah.
8.5, I'm taking the Bears. Speaking of the Chiefs, the Kansas City Chiefs are home. They're taking on Seattle. They are 10-point favorites now. This was 9.5 earlier in the week. The over-under is 49.5, minus 480 for the Chiefs, plus 385 for Seattle. I already said I'm going to take Kansas City in the money line parlay and the 7-point tease, but at 9.5, I really like Seattle here because Kansas City just doesn't seem to be able to cover these bigger spreads.
Yeah, I mean, when you get to the playoffs, it's not going to matter. You just got to win by a point. But they're right now, their defense, they've got a couple of glaring holes, much like the Browns do, where teams are just attacking, attacking, attacking. And even with Seattle's banged up, their offense isn't playing quite as well as it was earlier in the year. I don't think Kansas City can beat them by 10, so I love Seattle here.
Yeah, even with Geno Smith not playing as well, this should be a get right game for them, at least in part. DK Metcalf should
Yep.
do well against that secondary.
Yep.
Our next matchup sees the Minnesota Vikings hosting the New York Giants. The Vikings are 4-point favorites. The over-under sits at 49.5. Minus 205 for the Vikings, plus 175 for the Giants. The Giants aren't going to win this game, are they? I mean, I doubt Minnesota, but like the Vikings should take care of business here, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Give me the Vikings. I love the. I think I like the over actually in
This
this
is
one.
the only over I like this week.
Right. Like I think I like the over here as well, but yeah, I think the Vikings can win this game by a touchdown. So I'm going with Minnesota in this one.
Yeah, their defense should be able to shut down that Giants attack.
Yeah, I would think so.
Should.
Should. I mean, I don't. It's so weird because we really liked Minnesota last year. They came up a little short. We've been pretty strong on Minnesota this year, but man, it I don't know if I've ever seen a team have to. Normally, when a team is 11-3 at this point in the season, they've got there pretty easy, like a lot of easy wins, and that's just not been the case for Minnesota.
No, not at all. Our next matchup sees the Cincinnati Bengals traveling to New England to take on the Patriots. The Bengals are 3-point road favorites. The over-under sits at 41.5, minus 167 for the Bengals, plus 140 for the Pats. Well, I'm just going to keep saying it because it keeps happening every week. Mac Jones acts like a petulant little child on the sideline, and he gets a lot of media making excuses for him, just like we said would happen, because we can predict the future when it comes to how the media deals with their favorites. Mac
Yeah.
Jones is not a good quarterback. He's going to continue to not be a good quarterback. The numbers since that 3-pass game against Buffalo, something had to happen. I mean, I think the league adjusted to him more than it was psychological, but
Yeah.
I don't think he knows what to do. Meanwhile, Joe Burrow just seems to be throwing the ball all over the field. So I think Cincinnati's rounding in the form, and I think they keep winning here. I think they beat New England by a touchdown.
So there's so much to talk about with the New England Patriots. Like, is Belichick done? Is how far will the organization fall if Belichick leaves? Because if
He's
Belichick
Jimmy, they're going to get Josh McDaniels back as their offensive coordinator, and then they're going to sign Tom Brady and go into next year, and everybody will make him the favorites.
I think there might be. I think you'd be more likely. I think it would be more likely to bring Josh McDaniels back as the offensive coordinator and then sign Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't.
I think it's very likely that Josh McDaniels might wind up as the New England offensive coordinator. Of course, the Raiders might not be able to afford to fire him.
That's true too. That's still probably true. I am going to roll with Bill Belichick one last time because
the last ride.
This has been the story of like about 3 different seasons in our adult lives where, oh man, Matt Castle's the quarterback against this really good team. There's no way they can keep winning, no way they can shut down this offense. And they win a game 3-0. Like, I don't think you can shut Joe Burrow down like that. But I'm going to give Bill Belichick one last chance for myself personally. So I'm taking the Patriots here and the Patriots money line at plus 145 as well as the under. And we'll see what happens. But I don't.
You're braver than I am, sir.
I think if the Bengals blow New England out, I think you're probably looking at wholesale changes in the organization next year. I think Robert Kraft, I think you've got to say, well, I don't know how much longer Tom Brady could have carried us because I don't know how much more he had left, but maybe it was a little bit more Brady than it was Belichick, at least later. You know, I mean, obviously early it was Belichick, but later it was probably Brady. And it's time for me to move on. Jesus, you've got a defensive coordinator and a special teams guy calling one of the worst offenses in the history of the NFL. Like, I got to get rid of all of them. So I think the Patriots dynasty is probably dead and gone forever and ever until they kind of restructure everything. But I'm gonna ride with the Patriots one last time.
Our next matchup is a game I don't want anything to do with because it's the Tennessee Titans hosting the Houston Texans. The Titans are 3.5-point favorites. The over-under is 35.5, minus 172 for the Titans, plus 145 for Houston. Jimmy, Houston is playing hard to win despite the fact that they lose, while Tennessee is losing despite really, really trying to win.
So there's so much to talk about with the New England Patriots. Like, is Belichick done? How far will the organization fall if Belichick leaves? Because if Belichick...
Jimmy, they're going to get Josh McDaniels back as their offensive coordinator, and then they're going to sign Tom Brady and go into next year, and everybody will make him the favorites.
I think there might be. I think you'd be more likely. I think it would be more likely to bring Josh McDaniels back as the offensive coordinator and then sign Jimmy Garoppolo.
I think it's very likely that Josh McDaniels might wind up as the New England offensive coordinator. Of course, the Raiders might not be able to afford to fire him.
That's true too. That's still probably true. I am going to roll with Bill Belichick one last time because
the last ride.
This has been the story of like about 3 different seasons in our adult lives where, oh man, Matt Castle's the quarterback against this really good team. There's no way they can keep winning, no way they can shut down this offense. And they win a game 3-0. Like, I don't think you can shut Joe Burrow down like that. But I'm going to give Bill Belichick one last chance for myself personally. So I'm taking the Patriots here and the Patriots money line at plus 145 as well as the under. And we'll see what happens. But I don't.
You're braver than I am, sir.
I think if the Bengals blow New England out, I think you're probably looking at wholesale changes in the organization next year. I think Robert Kraft, I think you've got to say, well, I don't know how much longer Tom Brady could have carried us because I don't know how much more he had left, but maybe it was a little bit more Brady than it was Belichick, at least later. You know, I mean, obviously early it was Belichick, but later it was probably Brady. And it's time for me to move on. Jesus, you've got a defensive coordinator and a special teams guy calling one of the worst offenses in the history of the NFL. Like, I got to get rid of all of them. So I think the Patriots dynasty is probably dead and gone forever and ever until they kind of restructure everything. But I'm gonna ride with the Patriots one last time.
Our next matchup is a game I don't want anything to do with because it's the Tennessee Titans hosting the Houston Texans. The Titans are 3.5-point favorites. The over-under is 35.5, minus 172 for the Titans, plus 145 for Houston. Jimmy, Houston is playing hard to win despite the fact that they lose, while Tennessee is losing despite really, really trying to win. What the hell should our bettors do with this game?
Most bettors should probably stay away from this game. I, on the other hand,
oh no, you're going to put money on that Houston plus 145, aren't you?
Give me the Texans at plus 3.5. give me the over at 35.5, and give me the Texans money line. Because I don't know what the hell has happened to the Tennessee Titans, but they look broken. They've forgotten what Derrick Henry can do. They've forgotten what their other running backs can do. They just look like they're ready for Jacksonville to take this division away from them. And Houston is playing super hard, and I think Houston's going to sneak one on Tennessee this week.
Wow, that would put them in a tie with Jacksonville for the division. I mean, I would love it. My plus 600 for Jacksonville to win the AFC South. Would love that. That would definitely be a nice Christmas gift.
Yep.
I will take Houston with the points because I don't know what to do with this game. I thought I saw Tannehill's done for the year. I mean, we saw Willis. He can't throw. He just can't. So they're very one-dimensional. Man, I think Jacksonville's going to sneak this division, and I love it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Up next, we have the San Francisco 49ers, who are hosting the Washington Armada. They are 6.5-point favorites. The over-under is 37.5, minus 300 for the Niners, plus 250 for Washington. This defense is terrifying, and as long as Purdy's going to be making throws, I think San Francisco is going to continue to eat. I already said I was putting them in the money line parlay and the tease. In the 7-point tease, all they got to do is win this game, so I think that's the way to go. I like San Francisco to win. I think they probably win this by 10.
I think San Francisco is going to win. I think it's going to be a closer game. I'll take Washington at plus 6.5. I think I like the over here actually too.
I was looking at the over under and I was confused. I've only have two. That would only be the second over I take this week. I can't they can't all go under.
I think you'll actually have some points scored here. I'm gonna need Brock Purdy to throw a couple touchdowns with Brandon Ayuk. That would be helpful for me in some fantasy football playoffs. No, I think right now, things are good for Brock Purdy. There's no reason to think they're going to be bad until we see it go bad. So, maybe we're working on another Cinderella story here. We'll see how it goes. But right now, there's no reason to think the wheels are going to fall off in this game. So, yeah, I think San Francisco's going to cruise here too.
Well, things are not going so well for the Philadelphia Eagles with Jalen Hurts out of the lineup. Gardner Minshew is going to get the start there. Couldn't have come at a worse time because they're traveling to Dallas to take on the Cowboys. The Cowboys are 4.5-point favorites. The over-under is 47, minus 210 for the Cowboys, plus 175 for the Eagles. I don't think Minshew's that good, but this Dallas defense hasn't really been playing all that well. So I like Philly to cover here, even though I think the Cowboys win. How do you see this playing out? Do you think Dallas can get a game back here? They're out of it for the division, but they could really But in terms of locking up that 5 seed.
They have to be able to beat a team quarterbacked by Gardner Minshew by at least a touchdown. They just have to. They have to. Actually fancy yourself a Super Bowl contender, you have to be able to win this game by a touchdown. So I'm going to take Dallas.
I think that's a fair statement. Very fair statement. Up next, we have the aforementioned Pittsburgh Steelers. They're hosting the Las Vegas Raiders. The Steelers are 2-point favorites. Over-under sits at 38, minus 129 for Pittsburgh, plus 110 for Vegas. this was going to be the week. I think they were going to retire Franco Harris's number at this game, and now it's probably still going to happen, but it's going to be more of a memorial and a somber
Yeah.
occasion. You mentioned it earlier. This team's going to be up to play this week. They're not going to want to lose while they're honoring Franco Harris. So I think I like Pittsburgh here. I like them to win. I like them to cover.
Yeah, I co-sign all of that. I don't think there's much to say. I don't think a Pittsburgh Steelers coach team is going to make the kind of mistake the New England made at the end of a football game, so I don't think the Raiders can get a win here. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, pure insanity.
Next up, we have the Miami Dolphins hosting the Green Bay Packers. The Dolphins are 3.5-point favorites. This line has moved 2 full points towards the Packers. This was 5.5 on Wednesday. Now it's 3.5. The over-under sits at 50, minus 190 for the Dolphins, plus 160 for the Packers. This is one of 2 games that the Browns will be watching very closely, because if Miami and the Chargers both win, then that officially eliminates the Browns, I believe. Green Bay showed some life last week against the Rams, but I think everybody does that. Do you foresee Green Bay looking any good in this game, or do you think Miami can roll?
I think Miami's going to roll. I think Miami gets the win here. I like Miami to win this game by a touchdown. I think the over might be a little high, so I think I like the under in this one. But I do like Miami to get this win and keep fighting for the playoffs.
I like Miami too. I actually do like the over in this game now that I'm looking at it. I think Green Bay can get to the high teens, maybe 20.
Well, yeah.
I think that gets you there because Miami's going to put up at least 25, 30.
Yeah.
Our next matchup features the Denver Broncos traveling to LA to take on the Rams. The Broncos are 3-point favorites. This was a 1.5-point line earlier in the week. This is another big mover. Over-under is 36.5, minus 155 for the Broncos, plus 135 for the Rams. Denver's defense is really good, Jimmy, and that LA line is really bad. And we know what happens when Baker Mayfield's behind a bad offensive line. So I will actually take Denver here.
Yeah, I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to take the Rams. I'm going to take the Rams, and I'm going to take the Rams money line here. I don't know. I don't know why. I just feel like Denver's going to lose this game. They're going to find some way to not be able to capitalize on the mistakes they're going to be able to make Baker make. And I think Sean McVay is going to coach himself to a victory here.
Wow, that'd be pretty impressive because, well, I mean, it's not impressive beating Denver, but man, that LA, it's just been a horrible season for LA. Just across the board, bad. They're going to have to come back next year and see if they can do better.
Yes.
Another team that has just been bad this year but is going to fall their way into the playoffs is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They are 7.5-point road favorites in Arizona taking on the Cardinals. 40.5 is the over-under, minus 375 for Tampa Bay, plus 300 for Arizona. I don't trust either of these teams one bit because Tampa Bay's been really, really bad.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how Tampa Bay can be favored by this many points against anybody right now. I mean, I know Arizona's playing bad, but I don't understand it. I'm taking Arizona here. I almost want the Arizona money line as well because I don't understand why Tampa's going to travel across the country and be a 8-point favorite. I don't get it. I know Arizona's looked bad. I'm not a fan of the Arizona structure of the organization of the team. But I even think with a backup quarterback, they can keep this within 8 points.
Yeah, I agree. We'll see what happens with both of these teams after the season. I used to think that Tampa Bay would be scary in the playoffs, but that was weeks ago.
Yeah, no, they don't look like it.
No, they don't look like they should be feared at all.
No, I mean, I think Arizona is going to be one of the most interesting spots to follow when the season ends.
Yeah, we'll have to see
exactly
how much,
what the hell they do.
Yeah, we'll have to see how much of the house they clean.
Yep.
Up next, we have the Chargers. They are traveling to Indianapolis to take on the Colts. LA at 4.5-point favorites. 45.5 is the over-under. Minus 200 on the Chargers for the money line. Plus 175 for the Colts. Chargers got to have this one, Jimmy, and this would be the first time Justin Herbert made the playoffs, and he can do it on Monday night. I like him too. I think that fighting Jeff Saturdays continue to show that Jeff Saturday has no business being a head coach, just like we've said all along.
Yeah, I actually feel bad. I feel bad for the Colts players because they did enough to beat a team that's very much more talented than them in Minnesota. And the guy calling the plays, the guy is their head coach, the leader of men who's not afraid, had absolutely no idea how to keep that lead. And I actually felt bad for them. Dude, all you had to do was not throw passes in the second half. That's all you had to do.
Yeah.
Don't throw passes. Just run the ball, bro. But yeah, I agree. I think Justin Herbert's gonna get his chance to shine. The NFL will be happy. They should be able to finally get Allen, Burrow, Mahomes, and Herbert all in the playoffs together. So maybe Lamar comes back too. I mean, it's going to be a loaded quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to be looking at Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, maybe Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson, and then Tua, Joe Burrow, and Justin Herbert. That is a really good class of quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, I don't.
It's just the AFC's stacked, man.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun when the AFC playoffs roll around. We're gonna have a fun time analyzing those games, but I don't see how even Brandon Staley can charger this one up. I think they'll get an easy win here against the Colts.
That's the only thing that gives me pause with this game. I'll wait and see how everything goes before putting any bets on this game, but just with Staley, we could just get some really interesting outcomes. Just the coaching ineptitude could lead to chaos.
Yes.
Well, that's our week. What week are we?
16.
That's our week 16 slate. Only 2 more weeks to go after this until we start the playoffs. We're going to discuss over-unders. Let's hold off on that until next week.
Sounds good.
There's like 7 games that could determine over-unders.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I agree.
There's just a lot is still in flux before we get into it, and that'll give us more than half the teams will have their over-unders set. And this is a good time to start thinking about who you're going to bet against in the playoffs and maybe take some chances betting on or against them these next couple of weeks, knowing that you can make up whatever money you lose on them losing in the playoffs. So that is my long-term thinking suggestion for all of you out there.
I like it.
All right. Well, thanks for joining me, Jimmy. We got Saturday, Sunday football for that's pretty much the rest of the way, except for last week, because everybody will be playing on Sunday. So we'll be here to break it down. And once the playoffs start, we will definitely have you covered. We didn't do very well last regular season, but we really killed it in the playoffs.
We did. We were really spot on in the playoffs, and I can't wait. Can't wait to get to this year. I think the NFC. The NFC is going to be hard because there are going to be teams that we weren't expecting to be there, and then in the AFC, it's going to be just deciding which one of these quarterbacks is going to outplay the other.
Yeah, but there's still going to be some games with, Daniel Jones is going to make the playoffs. Like, we're going to bet against him.
We are.
Whoever Tennessee has, if they stumble their way into the playoffs, we're going to bet against them.
Well, I don't know, though. I mean, if it's Daniel Jones versus the team that wins the NFC South, I don't know.
You are not going to bet Daniel Jones against Tom Brady. Like, I cannot foresee that happening. I'm not saying you're going to bet Tom Brady to win that game, but I know you're not going to bet Daniel Jones to beat Tom Brady in the playoffs.
All right, you ain't wrong. You're not wrong there.
All right, well, thank you for joining me, Jimmy. It's been a lot of fun tonight. Keeping warm here, talking some football.
No place I'd rather be, brother.
And I want to thank all of you for listening. Give us a like or a subscribe to hear our podcasts as they come out over these next few weeks. I still have my report to give from a very nice Cavs win over the Milwaukee Bucks on Wednesday that we went to. Until then, for Jimmy Champ, I am Evan Belfiore, and we are no broken legs.